Good evening and welcome to the August 2021 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Legislative Chamber of the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me in the room today are my fellow board members, Mike Kavanaugh, Sarah Howard, Janice Molhoff, Craig Moody, Mary Spurgeon, Eric Williams, and Rick Yoder. We also have President and CEO Javier Fernandez, our General Counsel Steve Bruckner with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's senior management team and subject matter experts are participating in today's meeting remotely. Additionally, we have currently about 40 attendees on this WebEx, consisting of OPPD employees and members of the public, and a few members of the public in the room. As a reminder to board members, senior management, and OPPD staff, please mute your microphones to reduce background noise. To members of the public, thank you for attending. If you joined us via WebEx, you are in listen-only mode. If you have any technology questions, please use the chat feature in WebEx to communicate with the event host. If you are disconnected from the WebEx conference, we ask that you rejoin in the same manner as when you originally joined. For those who have joined us in person today, there is an attendee sign-in sheet at the entrance of the Legislative Chamber. The sign-in sheet is for public health contact tracing purposes only. I will now ask Josh Clark to give the safety briefing.
Good evening, members of the board, President Fernandez, other OPPD members, and most importantly, members of the public. Prior to the meeting starting, we did go over a little bit of a safety briefing for those of us in this room. I will remind everyone that we do have emergency exits to my left and right, which are stairwells that lead directly to the outside. Also located at those areas, we have fire extinguishers and first aid equipment. If there are any types of medical events or problems, we do have members of security here. Please raise your hand or make us aware and we can get you help as soon as possible. For those of you who are attending digitally, we would recommend that you also be aware of your exits as well as any first aid or fire suppression equipment you might have at home. And if you are at home and alone, it's always a good idea to have a trusted individual know that you are home and alone in case of any emergencies. With that being said, welcome to the board meeting, and we appreciate everybody coming both personally and digitally. Thank you.
And Chair Bogner, if it's okay, I can just follow up with this part of the safety briefing. It's the follow the 3 W's that we ask all of our employees to do. It's watch your distance, wear a mask, and wash your hands. And also a good opportunity for us, speaking of safety, to call 811 before you dig. Really, really important. I know when we're all excited about projects at home and at work, sometimes it could be easy to forget calling 811. Very important to do that, or you can visit ne1call.com. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now let's run through our list of guidelines for the conduct of the meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on OPPD.com. This meeting is being conducted in person and via WebEx events and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are a part of the official public record. Following board discussion on each pending matter, I will ask for public comment before bringing the matter to a vote. Also, prior to adjournment of the meeting, you will have an opportunity to comment on any other matters of OPPD business. We will take comments via WebEx and in the room. Let's first review the 2 options for WebEx attendees to notify us. Option 1, which is being displayed now, involves sending the meeting technology host a message using the chat feature, simply stating that you wish to speak. Ms. Henners?
Thank you, Chair Bogner. For those who have joined us using a computer or WebEx mobile app, you will find a button in your WebEx interface to open the chat panel. Once opened, you may send your message to the meeting technology host. Requests to provide comments will be relayed to Chair Bogner for recognition during the public comment section.
All right, and then option 2, which is being displayed now, involves the hand raise feature. Ms. Henners?
WebEx allows attendees to virtually raise their hand. You may use this feature to indicate to OPPD that you wish to be recognized to provide comments. The hand raise button is located in the participant list panel as displayed on this slide. After you have provided your comments, please press the hand raise button again to virtually lower your hand. And for those who have joined the meeting using only a telephone, WebEx has a hand raise feature that is activated by pressing *3 to raise and lower your hand. When we see your hand raise, we will acknowledge you by referencing a portion of your phone number. For example, caller with the phone number beginning in 402123. If you wish to provide comments when recognized, please wait a brief moment to be unmuted and begin speaking. Excuse me. At this time, if you would like to try using the hand raise feature, please do so as a test.
Okay, I'll allow plenty of time at each opportunity for public comment for members of the public to provide notification via WebEx. When I call on a member of the public to speak, our meeting technology host will unmute your microphone. Before commencing your comments, I suggest you first affirm that we can hear you. Please state your name and address and state the name of any organization or person you are representing. Organizations should choose one representative to speak on their behalf. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending at the discretion of the board. To assist you, we will display a timer to ensure each member of the public receives a consistent amount of time. Ms. Henners will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone while maintaining at least 6 feet of social distance. We ask that you wear your mask while speaking into the microphone. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per pending matter. To assist you, we will use the timer that is in the room. Ms. Henners will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. Please direct your comments to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. If you have written materials, please email them to Ms. Henners at mfhenners, that's mfhInners @oppd.com, or hand them to her if you're here, and she will receive them on our behalf. In summary, we will take WebEx comments first, then in-room comments, and then have a last call. Ms. Henners, will you please take the roll call?
Bogner,
Yes. Here.
Kavanaugh,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Mulhoff,
Here.
Moody,
Here.
Spurgeon, here, Williams,
Here.
Yoder.
Here.
Announcement regarding public notice of meeting. Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing same in Outlets newsletter, and on OPPD.com, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza since August 13th, 2021, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on that same date. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on OPPD.com and in this meeting room. The consent action items for tonight are as follows. Item 6, approval of the June 2021 Comprehensive Financial and Operating Report, June 2021 meeting minutes, and the August 19th, 2021 agenda. Item 7, approval of the new Retirement Fund International Equity Manager, Resolution number 6448. Item 8, SD9 Resource Planning Monitoring Report, Resolution number 6449. Item 9, RFP 5895, 161 13.8 to 13.8 kV 56 MVA transformer, Resolution number 6450. Item 10, RFP 4896, 161 13.8 to 13.8 kV 75 MVA transformer, Resolution number 6451. Item 11, North Omaha Station Auxiliary Boiler, Engineer Certificate to Negotiate, Resolution number 64 6452. Item 12, Nebraska City Unit 1 Air Heater Basket Materials, Engineer Certificate, Resolution number 6453. And item 13, Cass County Unit 1 and Cass County Unit 2 Direct Air Injection Engineer Certificate to negotiate materials and services, Resolution number 6454. If there are no corrections, changes, or additions to the consent agenda items, I need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we discussed these action items at the all committee meeting on Tuesday, August 17th. I would like to just quickly remind that my directors here that items 11, 12, and 13 are do require a supermajority. At this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this consent agenda items. You are welcome to make comments. Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Ms. Hinners, is there any request to chat?
I have no chat requests.
I also don't see any hand raises.
All right, thank you, Lauren and Mo. Are there any individuals in the room that would like to make comments on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none. Mo, just a real quick check. Any other chat requests?
I have not received any chat requests.
All right, Ms. Hinners, please call the roll.
Just verify there are no hand raises. I'll take the roll now. Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon. Yes. Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
All items are approved. Agenda item 14, revision to corporate officer compensation adjustment for Julie A. Comstock, Vice President, Customer Service, resolution number 6455. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that the compensation adjustments for Vice Presidents Julie A. Comstock and Lisa A. Olson as set forth on Exhibit A attached here to be and hereby are approved.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, colleagues, this is pretty close to housekeeping, but so that we could just be transparent with the public, wanted to put this on our agenda for discussion. As you all may recall, we provided salary changes for Julie Comstock and Lisa Olson 2 months ago. Subsequently, our human capital team found that the tool, a fairly manual tool that we were using to calculate the raises for Ms. Comstock was starting with an incorrect starting salary. That's been identified, it's been resolved, it won't happen again. Nevertheless, it came back to the governance committee. The governance committee reviewed and decided that the endpoint is really what was important here and getting Julie up to the $363,613 salary that's in front of you. So in the end, the market adjustment goes away, the merit increase stays the same, and she ends up right in the same spot that that we had intended back in June. Any questions or discussions, colleagues?
Okay. Seeing that no discussion will occur here, thank you, Director Moody, for that summary. At this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this action item. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Are there any requests to chat?
I have no chat requests.
Thank you. Okay, and at this time, if any members of the public in the room would like to make a comment, please move towards the podium. All right, seeing no movement, Ms. Hinners, please call roll.
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 15, appointment of interim chief financial officer, resolution number 6456. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District hereby appoints John W. Thurber as interim chief financial officer of the district, effective as of July 23rd, 2021, to exercise all the necessary and lawful authority of that position until a new vice president and chief financial officer is appointed by the Board of Directors and commences employment.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, colleagues, I'll just offer a couple quick comments, and then Mr. Fernandez, I'm going to turn over to you just for a second. So a couple things. One is, as we know, we've got a new CEO. That CEO is the former CFO, and naturally, those are two very big, important jobs that require some resources allocated to them. As such, we know that Javier and his team are working on hiring a new permanent CFO, but until such time, and it's going well, but until such time as we have somebody identified and hired, we are looking to appoint Mr. Thurber as a temporary CFO. I'll just say we've worked with Mr. Thurber for quite some time. He's been with the district for quite some time and does absolutely phenomenal work. He is taking on these responsibilities in addition to his normal responsibilities, which are significant. So I just want to thank Mr. Thurber in advance for his commitment to the district and what he's about to embark on. Javier, anything important that I missed?
No, Director Moody, thank you. I think you touched on the highlights. One of the reasons why we're appointing Mr. Thurber, in addition to his extensive knowledge and longevity with the district, the tenure that he has, he's done a fantastic job throughout over 3 decades that he's been with the district. He is also the Director of Treasury and Financial Operations, which is a really important function always, but especially in the months to come as we access the capital markets and we issue debt. So this resolution, if approved by the board, would grant Mr. Thurber also that authority to sign authorizing documents for the financing, which was the same resolution that was approved in June for the CEO and the CFO. This would ratify that same authority for John as the interim CFO.
All right, colleagues, would anyone like to make a comment? No? Okay, I'll just add that since I've been on the finance committee for the last several years, I've had a lot of interactions with John Thurber, and he's always professional and does a tremendous job for the district. So I'm excited to work with him in this capacity for the next few months. Okay, let's see, where am I at? At this time, I'd like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this action item. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Ms. Hinders, any requests to chat? Okay. If any member of the public would like to address us in person, please move towards the podium. All right, seeing no movement, Ms. Hinders, please call roll.
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 16, rate 183 net metering limit increase to 100 kW. Resolution number 6457. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District approves the revisions to rider schedule number 483 net metering as set forth on the attached Exhibit A to be effective September 1, 2021.
I move we approve.
Second.
Director Yoder?
Yeah, excuse me. The resolution is intended to change the net metering maximum from 25 kilowatt to 100 kilowatt. This is something that's been discussed for several years. I think it will open up many opportunities. It will return to the customers a rate that they have been asking for. And I'm very thankful for the speed and the consideration that senior management gave to this. So thank you very much.
Would any other directors like to speak? Go ahead, Director Williams.
Thank you. I strongly support this resolution to update rate 483. The expansion of net metering, the expansion of the net metering limit from 25 to 100 kilowatts will be good for rural installations, businesses who wish to participate in making their own renewable energy, and will be helpful for economic development by supporting the emerging renewable energy industry in Nebraska. Last night, I enjoyed a very detailed podcast about the difference between grid following and grid forming inverters with relation to clean energy generation. While distributed energy technology may be different in many respects to the historic generation that we're familiar with, the potential for this new technology to provide benefits to our grid and to our customer owners is tremendous. This update is in line with SD7 environmental stewardship and our goal toward decarbonization, SD11 economic development, and our ongoing work toward reliability and resilience through SD4. Earlier this year, several bills were introduced in the legislature focused on improving and expanding local renewable energy in the state of Nebraska. During a board meeting this spring, I mentioned that OPPD does not require that the legislature give us instruction on how to do what's in the best interest of our customer owners. And so in June, we streamlined the definition of the DC and AC nameplate capacity for net metering, which was a good step forward. Today, I sincerely appreciate the leadership from the Finance Committee, as well as from our staff to make the next step forward in policy to support clean energy and local power. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you, Director Williams. Would anyone else like to comment? Okay. All right, thank you. Let's see. At this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this action item. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use your hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand.
Scott Williams has his hand raised.
All right, Mr. Williams?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Thanks. Scott Williams, 3820 Jones Street, represented by Director Howard. I'm joining you today to speak in support of Resolution 6457, increasing the net metering limit. Net metering provides mutual benefits to specific net metering customer owners, to the district as a grid utility, and to all other customer owners of the district as well. Benefits to the specific net metering customer owners include providing a virtual storage through the counting of two-way power flows to and from the grid at large. These are customer owners who, incidentally, are the ones paying the upfront financial costs and installing distributed generation systems on their own properties. Through net metering, they benefit by having a way to slowly, reliably, cost-effectively recover their upfront investments. Benefits to the district as a grid utility are a source of clean, renewable, local, and very cost-effective power, while also strengthening resiliency by creating numerous diversified and geographically dispersed generation sources. Benefits to all other non-distributed generation customer owners include the dispersed benefits of improvements to affordability, reliability, and environmental sensitivity that result from net metering and distributed generation. Indeed, net metering achieves a perfect trifecta of furthering all three aspects of the mission of our public power district. With such a mutually beneficial situation, every customer who doesn't or can't install distributed generation is still benefited by those who do choose to do so. I personally live in an apartment in a building I do not own. As a result, even if I would want to, and believe me, I would want to, I cannot choose to add a solar array to my own home. But every time I drive past a house or a business with a solar array on their roof, or a rural farm with a ground-mounted array next to the field, it makes me smile to know that as a public power customer, I still benefit from their panels. Indeed, we all do. Mutually beneficial arrangements like this go directly to the core strength of public power. By increasing the net metering limit, these benefits to the district and to all customer owners are increased. Improvements like the one today ensure that OPPD continues to be our energy partner. Thank you to the board, and particularly the Finance Committee, and also to the dedicated work of the staff for moving this positive change forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. Is there any other requests for public comment on WebEx?
Yes, I have one. Edison McDonald, let me unmute him real quick. Okay, Edison is unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. My name's Edison McDonald. I'm the Director of Government Affairs and Development for GC Revolt. GC Revolt is a Omaha-based solar development company. GC Revolt strongly supports OPPD Resolution 6441. We thank the board for bringing forth this simple but important resolution for consideration and urge support of this measure. The resolution will help OPPD meet its net zero carbon goals by allowing mid-size OPPD customers to participate in achieving those respective net zero goals. This has long been an issue that we have been working to navigate, and we have a number of customers who are very interested in this. As we've noted, OPPD board members and staff in the past, we've had numerous project inquiries from customer owners whose visions and goals fit within this size scale. Clarifying the policy for 25 kilowatts to 100 kilowatts provides certainty for these scale businesses so that they can also invest in the future of a growing and resilient and thoughtful community. This is the kind of community that we envision in the upcoming years in the OPPD territory. We have had a variety of projects that have had interest and ready to develop, except for the limitations on net metering above 25 kilowatts. Some of these projects include CNN Landscaping, CN House, a residential complex who wants to power a large water pump in Louisville, the Kiewit building on 120th and F, a large farm, an RV park, and Calvin Crest, that's a church retreat center. This would be for a big office building which uses a significant amount of energy. All are examples of commercial projects that we would like to take action on. We hope that you will take positive direction on this, and we hope that you will continue to grow your focus on ensuring that we meet those net zero carbon goals and ensure that we really enable community owners to be a part of the process. Thank you. That's all.
All right, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Are there any other requests for public comment?
I have no other chat messages and I do not see any hands.
Okay, if anyone in the room would like to address the board about this item, please move towards the podium. Okay, seeing no movement, Ms. Henners, please call roll.
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Molhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 17. Public Board Meeting Mask Policy Resolution number 6458. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that in accordance with recommendations of the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and for the protection of public health and safety, all persons attending meetings of the board in person shall wear a mask covering their nose and mouth, commencing with the board meeting scheduled for September 16th, 2021. And this resolution shall remain in effect until rescinded by action of this board.
So moved?
Um,
We're good.
Second.
Okay, we needed a motion and a second on this, colleagues. As I've talked to each of you individually, we do have an amendment to this resolution. So what we're going to do here is we're going to focus on that, and that will likely be what we're voting on ultimately when it comes to the resolution. So Mo, if you could read the amended resolution, please.
Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that in accordance with recommendations of the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, and for the protection of public health and safety, all persons attending meetings of the board in person shall wear a mask covering their nose and mouth, and here's the change, during such time as Douglas County is designated by the CDC as an area of substantial or high transmission of the COVID-19 virus, and the CDC continues to recommend the wearing of masks indoor in such areas, commencing with the board meeting scheduled for September 16th, 2021.
Okay, motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, process. Let's talk process first. We now are going to have a discussion about the amendment to the resolution. And then if that passes, then we will vote on the full resolution, if that makes sense. So we're discussing the modified language to the resolution. What I want to point out in that spirit is that the red line version that you have in front of you, the intent here is to ensure that this carries forward so long as we meet the conditions outlined in the resolutions. So in other words, so long as Douglas County is designated as a substantial or high transmission area and the CDC continues to recommend the wearing of masks indoors, so long as both of those conditions are met, this mask policy will carry forward. The previous version essentially left it up to us to have this discussion on a monthly basis, and we felt like that wouldn't necessarily be the most efficient use of our time to debate this. It carried forward. It didn't require that we debate it, but it was in effect until we rescinded it, the first version. So that didn't necessarily mean we were going to debate it at every meeting. It just meant that we were going to have to continue to monitor it and at some point vote to rescind it. Whereas in this particular case, based on the amendment, staff will continue to monitor the situation and they will let us know when this changes and in which case it goes away. Okay. If I missed anything specific to the amendment, please let me know, and or if there are questions. I know that this was still in flux about 2 hours ago. So go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I have a question. So what are the conditions under which CDC designates an area as substantial or high transmission?
I believe it to be a percentage of positive testing. And I think there's other criteria as well.
And okay, good. And I'm okay with kind of that characterization. I guess my comfort level is greater for our board meetings if, honestly, if we understood how many people were vaccinated coming into the room, rather than what is happening in all of the county or all of the service area. So, I mean, honestly, I'd rather see an amendment that says something like everybody would have to show proof of vaccination to show up.
I appreciate that comment. I think it's too soon for us to add that into this policy because the FDA has not approved the vaccine yet. So I think that at the organization, as we have more discussions over the coming months about how we are dealing with this from a human capital standpoint, I think at that point it will help us float it up to how we're handling it here at the board meeting.
Yeah, I mean, fair. That's fair. I mean, for me, what's troubling to me is that we have a cycle that needs to be broken. every 18 months or every 9 months or every 2 years, there will be either a new variation, and we just don't have the break in the chain. And really, that's what we need to do. How do you have a break in the chain? You have a break in the chain by vaccinations, masking, and social distancing. For us to ask for masking, I think, is a minimum. For us to give up when the CDC has already shown a management that gives us another cycle. So, I mean, yes, I appreciate that they're doing their job, and they have, after all, they are a political entity, it seems, at least during the duration of the COVID. I think we can be smart enough to say we need vaccinations, we need to break the chain. That's the outcome we really want here. I'm done.
Go ahead, Director Kavanaugh.
Rick, I appreciate your comments. Perhaps those should be reserved for the discussion on the actual resolution itself. Right now, we're just discussing the amendment, correct?
Yes, that's right.
One question I have is, again, it came up again as far as the differentiation between substantial and high transmission. Again, apparently someone or you wouldn't have added it at the last minute. Which one is higher? Significantly higher? Which one's higher? Substantial or high transmission? It must be important to somebody because we would have been added at the last minute.
I think Director Howard has some personal knowledge on this topic. Please.
Sure. So just to clarify, the CDC, when they define substantial and high transmission, they're using the same terms for the same words, but what they mean is percentage rate of transmission. So substantial or high transmission is actually over a 10% positivity rate for your specific county. So for instance, right now we're considered substantial and high transmission because we're in the mid-20s in terms of our positivity rate and transmission rate in Douglas County. I do have a process question, but I hope that clarifies the definition for CDC. Moderate positivity is actually sort of like 6 to 8%. Anything below 10% is moderate, and low is obviously 1 to 2%.
Those percentages you allude to, is that the percent of the ratio of those who are tested that come back positive, or is that the percentage of the county as a whole?
It's a ratio of per 1,000 incidents. So,
what is an incident?
right, it's of those who are tested.
Those who are tested.
Yes.
What's a little misleading there is, and we hear it in the news all the time, these percentages of tested positive. Well, I don't know a whole lot of people who are getting tested. I can't put a whole lot of stock in. I understand 10% of those who have been tested. I understand that. But I also understand that a lot fewer people are being tested now than what 6 months ago. Generally speaking, I'm going to assume. I'm getting in off my skis here. I understand that people getting tested right now. Probably people who are sick. It's my opinion.
Not necessarily, actually. It's become a common part of a physical, or anytime that you're going to the doctor, people are asking you to get tested. But that's probably not relevant for our discussion at this point. It's now a good time for me to ask my process question, and who do I direct it towards? Okay. So my question revolves around the language in particular. When we consider that the resolution, Director Moody indicated that it sort of goes away when the transmission rates go down to moderate or low. Does it remain in effect should the transmission rates go back up? Because we know that this virus will operate in waves, does this language sort of hold steady, and then we would re-implement when it goes higher? Oh, I'm getting nods.
So
Okay.
yeah, let me verbalize that. That's the intention behind this revision, is to allow us to be fluid. So if in 2 months, say we're in a low transmission rate and we're meeting in November, we do not have to wear masks if we are low. However, if December there's a spike again and we're high, we would wear masks in December. Perfect. So it allows us to have that constant fluidity, since this is going to be an ongoing scenario for a long time.
For a long time. Thank you so much for that clarification. I appreciate it, and I support the amendment.
Are there any other questions about the amendment? So process? We vote on this now.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe, Mr. Bruckner, you can confirm, but I think we need to do public comment on the amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Director Moody. You should receive public comment on the amendment itself. And just to clarify, the vote that you are going to be seeking is simply to replace this proposed amendment to the resolution to the prior one that was noticed with the meeting materials. It's not to vote on the substance of the resolution.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on the action item being the revisions to the resolution, to please raise your hand or send a chat to the meeting host. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Ms. Henners, do we have any requests for chat?
I don't see any hand raises and I don't have any chat requests.
Okay, thank you. If there are any members of the public in person that would like to make a comment about the revised language, please move towards the podium. Okay, seeing no moves, we will call roll. Ms. Henners.
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
No.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
No.
Motion carried 6-2.
Okay, now we will go back and as a board discuss the resolution that is on the screen now. Would any board members like to make a comment? Go ahead, Director Kavanaugh.
Yeah, I have a couple questions here. This resolution came through the governance committee. Is there an individual person I should direct my questions to?
You can direct them to me.
First question is, what exceptions are there for those folks who are physically or psychologically disabled? Why is them to wear masks at our meetings?
So this resolution doesn't contemplate that. I think that if board or a public member has a consideration that they would like us to contemplate, I would ask for them to reach out to us prior to the board meeting. But that's not part of the resolution.
Can I just hop in real quick and remind everyone that attending virtually is an extraordinarily exceptional option that allows everyone and anyone to attend and participate in the exact same way that they can, be it a board member or a member of the public. So just as a reminder.
So I guess you can tell handicapped folks they don't need to have access here. They can just watch it from home.
Simply saying it was an option.
My next question is, has any other area government bodies made a similar mask requirement? You see walking through the courthouse here, that people are certainly free to wear masks if they choose to or not. We're part of the courthouse, actually. Or they call it the city county building. It's the same building.
Yeah, I think the federal government requires mask wearing by employees. Yeah. So yes, other government agencies have taken action in the same direction in the best interest of the public health of the people of our communities and our country.
Any other local government agencies, city, county?
I think there are federal employees who work in the city of Omaha.
Is any local government agencies? None that I'm aware of.
I can't speak with confidence on all of them, but I was at the Omaha Public Schools Board of Education meeting last week. They did require masks for all attendees.
I attended a Douglas County Planning Commission meeting and everyone in the room had a mask on. I'm unclear if that was a requirement or if everyone just acted in the best interest of each other at the time.
Is there any consideration given to, Rick alluded to it earlier, those folks that have already been vaccinated to wear a mask? I mean, we've cited the CDC wisdom on what we have to be doing. However, there was one particular time the CDC indicated that those folks became vaccinated, they would no longer need to probably wear masks. Who knows what they'll say tomorrow? In any event, was there any consideration given to folks who have been vaccinated? And I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily a fan of people having to show ID to show they've been vaccinated to come to a meeting.
So, right,
I think the honor system might be. Any thought to that? I would support this if we would make it. We strongly recommend people wear masks. But if they've been vaccinated, they're not.
so right now, the CDC recommendation is whether you've been vaccinated or not, because of the Delta variant, to wear masks. And so that's why the language here describes that you have to be in a, it's trying to contemplate that with the area of substantial or high transmission. And the CDC continues to recommend wearing masks indoors. So that has been contemplated in this language. So at some point, if we have an area of high transmission, but the CDC removes their recommendation for vaccinated individuals to wear masks, that would fit into the constructs here of what you're kind of describing.
Mr. Bruckner, there was an article in today's paper I saw where there's some potential dispute between the state of Nebraska and Douglas County as far as specifically the health department, Douglas County Health Department, I believe, as far as mask mandates and so forth, where the state would step in to stop it, attempt to stop the action. Are you familiar with that? And if so, does that have any bearing on us, on this resolution?
I'm familiar with the article. I'm not familiar with the particulars of that particular dispute, and no, it would not have any impact on the decision of the board whether to adopt this resolution or not. That's entirely up to the board of directors.
Thank you. And my last, I guess, question is, and I'll wear a mask if it's fast. I'm not going to sit there and break. I'm not going to sit there and do that. I understand. I believe in have to gradually go along. However, what if someone doesn't go along? What type of enforcement do we have as far as criminal, civil? What do we do? We can't make laws. I realize we can make policy, but right. Where do we go from there if that happens?
That's absolutely a fair question. And I think that the Kate Brown's team, along with Javier and a few other senior management team members, are working through those logistics, which is why this resolution is written to start with the September 16th date. So, so I think that those logistics will be debated and discussed over the next month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments? Go ahead, Director Williams.
Yeah, wearing a mask is uncomfortable. It's hot. It's awkward. It can muffle our voices, quite obviously. Public speaking becomes much more challenging. And I'm somewhat embarrassed about how I sounded in my comments related to Rate 483, something that I've worked to support for more than a decade. But while a mask may fog my glasses, it will not cloud my vision and my judgment about the policy that is in the best interest of my colleagues on the board, the employees at OPPD, and the members of the public who may wish to join us at our meetings. It is the responsibility of elected and appointed officials at public agencies, as well as leaders at private businesses and community-based organizations, to act in a way that is in the best interest of the entire community. I support this resolution and the ongoing work within OPPD as we follow the scientific guidance from medical professionals to protect public health. Thank you.
Javier Fernandez, would you like to address anything related to the logistics question that Director Kavanaugh asked about?
I think, as you mentioned, Chair Bogner, we have until the September board meeting. We are studying different options precisely to accommodate that situation where if the board adopts this resolution and requires masks to be present in this room at the board meeting, we would have to find out alternatives for other members of the public who come in person, who want to participate and cannot wear a mask. We're thinking about the logistics and whether it's in a separate hearing room, a listening room, and how do we partition potentially the room. And So lots of details, logistical details that I don't have a finality on the recommendation, but we will work on those.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Director Mooney?
Yeah, I'll be quick. This is really straightforward in my opinion. We have a strategic directive around safety. We start every meeting with safety. I mean, that's exactly what's going on here. This is protecting people, and we shouldn't question the merits of the scientists at the CDC who are advising us on what to do. I don't question engineers on the details of how they're going to design a turbine. The CDC knows what they're doing. They've given us very good guidance. It's important that we follow the guidance. And I think it aligns perfectly with the safety focus that we have here at OPPD. Thank you.
Director Yoder?
Yeah, first I want to apologize for the comment I made on Tuesday about grandstanding. I had, and I made that to, pardon? Well, I recall that my reaction to the same charge was one where I was dismayed. I mean, I don't come here and make comments about public health or the environment because I'm grandstanding. And so I apologize for having done that. I know you have the best interests, and I know it's a process that you feel strongly about. So thank you for letting me say that. OPPD, I agree with everyone else. OPPD has a responsibility, it's a duty, it's a social contract to provide power to the community. The community demanded to know about the preparations that we had for the polar vortex and for the windstorm when they were without power. And if anything more could have been done to mitigate the outages associated with each. The reliability they expect is not tied just to weather disruptions. A cyber attack could, I mean, we all know these things. We hear it in our risk management. And so a pandemic can do the same thing. I have a doctor friend who said from the very beginning last year that COVID is just a dry run, a test. The real pandemic will come soon enough. And whether you buy into that theory, that it's a zoonotic disease that comes from animals as humanity continues to crowd them out, or whether it comes from a lab, that's more likely to happen as gene editing becomes more commonplace as a high school science fair. My friend may be exactly right. The only way this stops is if we, as leaders in the community, make it happen. And a mask mandate, frankly, again, is not enough. Nor is an episodic, is it this month do we have to wear a mask? That month do we have to wear a mask? You just ask for a vaccination, you're done. So I will support this. I just don't think it goes far enough.
All right, thank you, Director Yoder. At this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this action item. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Ms. Henners, are there any requests to chat?
I do not see any chat requests. I also do not see any hand raises.
If there are any members of the public in the room that would like to make comments on this action item, please move towards the podium. All right, seeing no movement, Ms. Henners, please call roll.
Wagner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
No.
Howard? Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-1.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Electric System Evaluation and Modernization Strategic Initiative Update. Javier, would you like to kick it off?
Absolutely. This is exciting. As you all remember, we have 5 strategic initiatives that we're working on, and we've been working on them for over a year. The Electric System Evaluation and Modernization Strategic Initiative, it's a mouthful. We call it the ESE&M. is incredibly important, and it talks about the modernization of our grid and investments we need to make, we need to consider as we modernize our systems. Tonight we have Mr. Aaron Smith, who will be presenting these. Aaron is the leader of this initiative. Troy Vai is the executive sponsor. And if you remember last board meeting, 2 months ago in June, we heard from Heather Siepken on the Customer Engagement for the Future strategic initiative. So tonight we will hear about the Electric System Evaluation and Modernization strategic initiative. I will comment that it is fortuitous. We had planned this briefing for tonight, and it will be followed by the storm outage and our response to the July 9th storm. Both of them are related. You will hear some common themes from the work that we had been already studying and contemplating, and how it eventually ties to the way we responded to the storm restoration. So with this, I'm going to pass it on to, I don't know if Troy Vai wants to make any comments, and then for Aaron.
No comments from me. Really, you covered everything that I would have suggested. I guess the one piece I would add is all the initiatives are very intertwined, and they inform each other. Our groups work together, whether it's the decarb initiative or the workforce transformation. All those are cogs in the wheel, and it's very difficult to be successful without those all working together. So that's the only thing I would add to your comments, Javier. And with that, turn it over to Aaron.
All right, thank you, Troy. Thank you, Javier. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Smith. I'm the Director of Customer Experience here at OPPD. And as Javier and Troy mentioned, I'm the Strategic Initiative Manager for the Electric System Evaluation and Modernization Initiative. So for today's update, I'm going to share with you some of the progress that we've made to date on our initiative. I'm also going to share our vision for what the modern grid ecosystem can look like, and then our plan for how we'll get there. And then we'll talk through some next steps on laying out our detailed plans to achieve that objective. I'll start with a quick refresher on why we need to modernize the grid. First, we know our customers' preferences are changing. They want more options in terms of products and services, and more information in a timely manner. We also know that there has been a big leap in technology over the past decade, especially in terms of communication technology within the grid sensor space and within processing capability. And we know that those advancements are only going to continue and accelerate. In addition, those technology advancements and innovation not only help with our customer experience, but also help with employee engagement as we provide the right tools for those doing the work. We, like all utilities, have aging assets, and this opportunity to modernize provides both an opportunity to refresh those assets as well as make them more intelligent and more connected. We know also that the electrification of transportation is picking up speed. We're seeing this both in the fleet space as well as private electric vehicle ownership. Nearly all of the major manufacturers have announced plans to electrify their lineup of vehicles, either partially or in whole, over the next 10 to 20 years. We know that EVs are an awesome opportunity for utilities, but also can provide operational challenges, and we'll discuss that further. We have our decarbonization goal as laid out in the strategic directive. We've made that commitment to carbon reduction. As part of that, we also know that that future will be more decentralized than it is today. And so we've got to prepare the grid in order to integrate and enable those decentralized resources. So in order to meet that future I've just described, we're developing our integrated vision and roadmap for how we'll get there. Today, I'll be laying out the major components of that vision. And what we anticipate for the future is a resilient digital grid and integrated service platform. So let's dig a little bit deeper into what that vision means. So to set some context, today, we have a high level of visibility monitoring, and control on our high voltage transmission system and within our substations that you see throughout our area. But between those substations and our customers, we have limited visibility. We rely on customers to notify us by phone or the web when they experience an outage. In the future, we'll have two-way connectivity of both grid and customer assets to leverage a more distributed model, as well as with that two-way connectivity, we'll know right away what's happening on the grid without customers having to take any action. In addition, we'll be able to provide relevant information to our customers in a timely manner. This includes outage updates, estimated times of restoration, energy usage information, and ways to increase energy efficiency. Products, services, and programs that are customized and fit within a modern digital lifestyle is where we need to head in our offerings. In addition, we need to be able to enhance the reliability of our grid. We know that the grid powers our society and our economy and will become the gas station of the future. So we'll discuss that in detail here a little bit further. So before we dig into those components of a modern grid ecosystem, I want to provide you an update. When I introduced our initiative last fall, I indicated that we would be doing a deep dive data evaluation of our RAIN pilot project. As a refresher, our current meters are an AMR system. AMR stands for Automated Meter Reading, and this is a drive-by system. The meters broadcast a signal that's picked up by the meter readers' vehicles as they drive by. For this pilot project, we deployed a network of RAIN sensors that were built in-house by our innovation team. And we titled them RAIN as into rein in your energy use as kind of their tagline. And the value proposition that we were exploring was that an increased frequency of reads may be able to enable a future rate options, as well as provide outage and restoration detection through the use of the RAIN collectors and algorithms at potentially a fraction of the cost of a full advanced metering infrastructure or AMI deployment. So what were the results? RAIN itself as a network was successful. The reads that we got matched the accuracy of the drive-by reads. We also were able to verify known outages as they were predicted using RAIN and the algorithm that we developed. However, there were also many limitations, mostly due to the existing AMR meters themselves. The frequency at which we're able to grab reads and the way that they broadcast does limit what the potential for some future rate options might be. The meters are only capable of one-way communication. They do broadcast out, but cannot receive signals. Our outage algorithm did predict actual outages, but also came up with many false positives. And the existing AMR meters are reaching their projected end of life in the near term. And because the system was built in-house, the manual integration does limit its scalability. So in conclusion, our RAIN pilot, in addition to our AMR, doesn't fully align with the future vision for a modern grid with two-way communications that I had just laid out previously. So how do we get to this vision, our North Star vision of a resilient digital grid and integrated service platform that will enable enhanced products and services? Today, I'll go over some of these key building blocks of a modern grid. And I call them building blocks because they really do build upon each other and as a whole become the modern digital grid. The modern grid is much more than just new smart meters. It takes a large supporting ecosystem to realize the full value. We've also seen and learned from early adopters of AMI that AMI alone fell short of the vision, and some utilities were not able to get all the benefits that they had hoped for just by deploying new meters. The first four building blocks that you see here, the advanced metering, the robust and secure communications, the enterprise GIS, and the mobile workforce technology, are really the building blocks that are core investments that the rest of the technology is built on. It's going to be a complex and challenging journey, but one that we're ready to take. So now let's go a little bit deeper into each of these building blocks. So the first is the AMI, or advanced metering infrastructure, that I mentioned. And this is not just a meter anymore, but it's also part of the grid sensor network. In addition to the two-way communication that AMI provides, the meter itself also includes processing capability. And when fully integrated, AMI provides very powerful functionality. This includes outage detection without the need for customers to call in. It enables the ability to provide personalized products and services, including rate options. It also helps to enable and manage distributed energy resources and storage. And it provides the capability to remotely turn on and off meters as customers move in or out of a property without having to send OPPD staff to the site. The grid sensing capabilities also enhance our situational awareness on the grid, and the meters themselves can provide power quality monitoring capability. We're currently working on an AMI business case with a consultant to put numbers to these benefits, and we will be engaging additional consulting help with AMI deployment planning over the next 18 months. So in summary, the AMI meters provide a lot of capabilities, but these can only be fully leveraged when integrated with the other building blocks and systems. So in addition to the AMI network, a broader network is needed to truly digitize the grid and connect all of our assets end to end. This is the infrastructure that provides that secure path for transmission of data. This enables mobile devices for our crews, grid sensors for monitoring and control, distributed energy resources, and the other building blocks that we'll explore today. We're working hand in hand with the Technology Platform Strategic Initiative to ensure that our grid ecosystem needs are integrated into our enterprise-wide plan for communications technology. So in summary, this communication overlay on the grid is what enables the grid to truly become digitized. Another key building block is that interfaces with so much of the other technology is the GIS, or Geographical Information System. Today, the GIS provides the baseline electrical and asset model for construction and operations of our distribution grid. The future GIS will enable deeper data analysis and visualization. This will assist with our outage response and enhance the information we're able to provide to customers via our outage map. Once fully integrated, it enables the ability to provide status updates on customer projects as well. And as we enhance our asset data collection, the GIS will become a powerful tool for asset management. In summary, this is truly a core system that the other systems interface with or are built upon, which includes the next building block I'm going to talk about, the advanced mobile workforce. So the advanced mobility provides the platform for that real-time information flow for both utility operations and customer updates. We use mobility today for certain work, including managing our outage response, but with the new capabilities now available, we can take it to the next level. The GPS integration will enhance both crew dispatch and crew safety by giving system operations a view of where crews are working at any given time. When we have crews on site, the mobile platform will allow them to get information back to customers in a timely manner. For example, when a crew arrives, they might be able to spot the problem quickly, such as a small branch that came in contact with the power line. They would be able to clear it up and energize the line within 30 minutes or so. Using this mobile app, the mobile technology, they'll be able to communicate that back to our broader systems that we can then pass on that information to customers to let them know that 30-minute estimated restoration time and our cause information and get that back to customers. In other cases, they might find that a pole is broken and needs to be replaced, work that can take several hours. We'd also be able then to get that extended restoration time to customers so that they can make plans. One limitation of our current mobile system is that it doesn't allow us to direct mutual aid crews. That's crews from other utilities and contractors that come in to help with large events like we saw in our system last month. Having a secure and web-based platform would allow those crews to be dispatched with their own existing smartphone or tablets. So to sum it up, mobility puts critical system information in the hands of our crews and also allows them to provide that boots on the ground view to get information that the best available information to our customers. So as I mentioned in the opening, we have somewhat limited visibility on the distribution grid between our substations and our customers. Intelligent devices, when deployed on our secure communication network, allow us to bridge this gap by providing that real-time visibility and control. Some intelligent devices, such as smart reclosers, enable the self-healing capability. And what that means is the ability to quickly isolate sections of the grid with damage or other issues, and then be able to restore power remotely to areas that remain intact, bringing the majority of customers back online within a few minutes. Devices such as fault indicators can help pinpoint locations of problems so that crews don't have to spend time patrolling miles and miles of line to find the issue. We'll also be able to monitor asset health directly so that action can be taken to catch something before it becomes a big problem. With smart sensors and AMI, we'll be able to enable and optimize both distributed resources and electric vehicle charging. So to sum it up, intelligent devices are the sensory type organs of the grid that feed information to the brains of the grid, which is the advanced distribution management system, the building block that we'll discuss next. So the intelligent devices I just discussed will provide us with boatloads of data. So the ADMS, or Advanced Distribution Management System, is the brains of the modern grid that turns that data and signals into actionable information. It's the real-time data processing platform that the modern grid is operated from. In combination with the intelligent grid devices, it enables the self-healing and problem identification that I just described. Through integration with AMI, the grid devices, mobility, and the geographic information system, it allows us to optimize our outage management capabilities and at the same time provide timely updates to our customers. The ADMS is also needed to fully leverage and optimize distributed resources, whether they are utility-owned or customer-owned resources. Advanced weather forecast integration and predictive modeling can help us with resource allocation as storms and other weather events are approaching. So again, this is the brains of the modern grid. So in addition to the real-time capabilities of the ADMS, we also need the deeper level analysis that business intelligence can provide. These are the Watson type capabilities. So Jeopardy fans may remember that Watson is IBM's artificial intelligence engine that ended up beating Jeopardy champion Ken Jennings, right? So this is that level of real-time artificial intelligence that be able to look deeper at our asset performance so we can tweak our maintenance programs for maximum effectiveness. The business intelligence can also provide customer insights and enhance data for data-driven decision-making. This big data processing capability also positions us for the future as technology evolves. So speaking of evolving technology, the modern grid that we are planning through this strategic initiative gets us ready for today's challenges, but also positions us for the future so that as advanced technologies become available, we'll be ready to integrate them. Some examples of these include specialized drones equipped with cameras and scanning technology that we can apply business intelligence and artificial intelligence to be able to identify issues on our electric system without a human having to review every photo or video of a pole or a wire or a conductor. Another is the concept of failure anticipation. Right now, this is at the university and research level, but will soon be ready for real-world application. And what this does is examine the electrical waveforms themselves and identifies signatures that can be attributed to, for example, when a tree branch comes in contact with the power line. This would allow us to identify problems and take proactive action before they become an interruption for our customers. So these are just a couple examples, but we know that over the 10-year planning window of this strategic initiative in the next decade, there will be other breakthroughs and innovation that we will need to and be able to apply. So in order to bring this all together and deepen your understanding of what a modern digital grid looks like in action, I'll walk through an outage scenario with the modern grid deployed. So first, using our integrated weather and advanced forecast models, OPPD would be able to ready our resources for potential severe weather or events. When an event occurs, like a lightning strike during a thunderstorm in the summer, the meters themselves can notify the system of the outage with no action required by the customers. OPPD system operators then could use intelligent field devices to restore customers remotely to intact parts of the distribution grid. When the remote restoration is complete, the meter verifies the power is restored and customers can be automatically notified. Customers who are remain out could be sent a personalized estimated time of restoration. Using the GPS-enabled maps that are foundational to our GIS technology, the closest crews can be routed to make the repairs safely to the remaining outages. Once the repairs can be made and the system can be energized, the meter can verify that power is restored and customers can again be automatically notified. So again, this is just one scenario, but hopefully this helps to illustrate how all of this has to come to work together as an ecosystem to really bring that true value to our customers. So now we'll take a look at a high-level look at our remaining project schedule that is overlaid with the 4 other strategic initiatives that we have in progress. This timeline is really illustrative only, and the timelines themselves may shift, but the important takeaway is that as all of the initiatives, specifically the decarb and customer experience strategic initiatives, come up with their recommendations in the next coming months, they will be integrated into our grid modernization plans and our recommendations integrated with theirs. We're looking at a 10-year window for execution of this strategic initiative. And so some of the SIs will begin execution in 2022, but that doesn't mean that the planning will stop. It will be a continuous process of planning. So just because some are starting some items of execution, those will feed into our planning and vice versa. And so we've also provided a lot of input to the technology platform strategic initiative, and they have identified some no regrets execution items for next year, and we will be further integrating our grid ecosystem requirements to those and coming up with additional action items. We've also provided input to the workforce transformation strategic initiative. As we know, a modern grid will continuously change the way that we perform work here at OPPD. So in summary, all the SIs together make up our utility of the future vision. So it's critical that we be in lockstep as we move forward. And so speaking of moving forward, what are our next steps for the electric system evaluation and modernization SI? So we've completed some current state analysis at this point, but we need to complete that across all capabilities. It's really important that we understand our starting place in depth in order to come up with the best implementation staging. We're going to also be finalizing our business case, as I indicated earlier. We're going to continue that cross-strategic initiative and enterprise alignment. We'll be conducting some utility site visits. We've done this virtually already with several utilities and other organizations that are heavy GIS users, for example, and we'll continue to do that to reach out to utilities and other businesses as it makes sense to going forward. We'll also be onboarding some additional consultants to help us with our detailed planning efforts. We've engaged our public affairs team, and we are working on our change management plans and our education and outreach efforts that will take place. And finally, our ultimate deliverable is going to be the technology staging and the detailed implementation plans that will lay out our roadmap over the next decade or so. So that's the conclusion of my update on the electric system evaluation and modernization initiative. And at this point, I would be happy to take any questions from the board of directors or others.
Thank you, Aaron. Would any directors like to ask questions? Go ahead, Director Williams.
Yeah, thanks very much, Aaron. In your presentation, there were a series of building blocks. Can you describe, are those series or parallel? Will they be happening simultaneously, or does one require that another be completed before we can move forward?
Great question, Director Williams. They are in parallel. However, it's important that we get the staging and the order of operations just right, because they do build on each other. So in all cases, it doesn't mean that you have one completely implemented before you go to the other, but ideally, you're going to have several building blocks in place in order to get the maximum value. But as we're building out the building blocks, we'll be able to kind of peel off some value for our customers as we go along the way. But to get to that true vision, we have to have all of it in place.
Great. Appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
All right, Director Moody.
Oh, I'm still formulating my questions, so bear with me. This has been super helpful, Aaron. Thank you for the presentation. Help me understand, well, let me just talk about my interpretation, then I have a question. So when I go through this, most of what I interpret you're sharing with us does not include poles, wires, transformers, et cetera, et cetera. So help me understand whether or not and to what extent the distribution transmission system that we have, and how does all this relate to one another?
Yeah, great question. So I think what you're getting at too is as we're going through, so as we're performing system upgrades and replacing our items, for example, like whether a pad mount switch or an overhead switchable device, we would be able to replace those with devices that are able to communicate and we're able to control remotely. So as we're replacing some of those aging assets, we'd be able to add in that monitoring and control element on top of it while we're out there, doing our regular maintenance and regular asset management type programs. So this doesn't take the place of those programs, but what it really does is enhance them.
Right. So that's helpful and confirm for me that everything that you've laid out here with respect to what the future grid is going to look like is not inhibited in any way. And I'm by no means suggesting that our grid's out of date, but it's not inhibited by the current transmission and distribution system that we have. This is all compatible with everything we have. We have a regular routine and schedule, preventative maintenance, and all that kind of stuff on our grid as it is, right? So there's nothing on that side that's inhibiting us from achieving this vision. Is that right?
That's correct, right? It's just being able to deploy some of this newer technology to provide that visibility at the kind of the deeper levels of the grids, right? Where the lines are running through our homes and businesses, our distribution system. That's the piece where today we have some limited visibility and we do require customers to call in and report outages. What we're doing is with this modern technology, overlaying that on the grid to be able to bring that back automatically.
Got it. Thank you. I did have just something quick. Sorry, Javier, were you hopping in?
Just a clarification, Director Moody, and I agree 100% with Aaron's response. And just a clarification, the meters we have today, they are existing infrastructure we have. Those are getting in the way, right? So those would have to be replaced. But going back to your original question, poles, conductor, et cetera, it's modernizing how we communicate with those. But I didn't want to ignore the piece of the meters, because that is a big piece of infrastructure that does impede these transformations.
100%. That makes sense. So not a question, but just transitioning. I'll be super curious to understand what the customer interface and optionality that we create as a result of this is. That's a super exciting opportunity as far as I'm concerned. And I know that, Aaron, as you said earlier, that's largely dependent and will be definitely heavily informed by the customer-related strategic initiative. Name escapes me right now. So anyway, I'm excited to see how all of this threads together for our customer owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Moody.
All right, Director Yoder.
Yeah, thanks for asking those questions, Director Moody. It helps spur some of my thinking. So this is very exciting. I love all of the planning that's going on here. I love hearing that you're making some no regrets actions as you're looking towards the future. Love the bits and watts. Movement is what's happening here. This is an energy transition, and I'm really looking forward to this. Mo, I don't know if it's possible or who's got control of the screen, but if we could go back to the previous two slides, one that shows the strategic initiative portfolio overview. The timelines, Q3 2021, back there you go. So the gray, as I understand it, there's a lot of planning work, and thank you, Aaron, for saying that this is all tightly integrated. But here, the budget question, I guess. When do we see the ask after all of this planning? It looks like implementation isn't until Q1 2023. Is that right?
That's what we're anticipating for the beginning of the execution for this SI related to grid modernization. So that's where you'll start to see the big ask, and that's what we're going to do over the next the rest of this year and into 22 is do that detailed planning, the order of operations, how we want to execute it, and then as I mentioned, that execution. To really get to the whole vision, it's likely a window of a 10-year, but you'll see a lot of those action items probably begin within the first 5 years, and several may be completed, and then others will extend on kind of into that 6 to 10-year time frame. Because this is a lot of work. These are a lot of investments, and so it can't just happen overnight. And so that's why we're doing this rigorous planning to make sure that we can execute it in a manner that brings the most value as we go along.
So I see the signaling. Thank you very much in the front row here. But if a quick follow-up question, is it a step increase or is it kind of ramping up? So go ahead.
Great question, Director Yoder. And I would say it's a ramping up, right? We have been funding our strategic initiative work for the past few years. The current budget, the corporate operating plan for 2021, has funds dedicated to the planning and studying of strategic initiative work. We are developing the corporate operating plan for 2022, which includes similar funding, and it also includes funding for advancing some of the work. So not just the planning and the studying, but actually executing some of that work. In terms of the electric system evaluation modernization initiative, that funding, as you can see here by the gray line, will continue to be on the planning and studying, but there will be, and we will have an opportunity later this year to present the COP, corporate operating plan, where you will start seeing some investments already on the execution of some of the other strategic initiatives. Technology platform, for example, that is one that we will focus on. My goal is to tie the strategic initiative planning, studying, and analysis work that we've been working on with action, with actual investments. And so that will come this coming year. I'm very excited. We are really busy. We're in the middle of budget season, but more to come on that.
Yep. Thank you very much, and very excited as well.
Thanks, Director Yoder.
Anyone else? All right, Aaron, thank you so much. This was a fantastic presentation. I'm also excited about the future that you've just laid out for us and the way that you went through the presentation with that customer journey. I think that we have probably several people in the audience that can relate to maybe wanting to have experienced that customer journey just a couple weeks ago. So I look forward to being able to deliver that to them in the future. Okay. We will now move on to that very item, the July 2021 storm outages and response initial report. Javier?
Thank you, Chair Bogner. Well, here we are. Over 1 month ago, OPPD was called to show really what we're all about, which is serving our customer owners and delivering the energy services that they have enjoyed for the past 75 years and will continue to enjoy in the future. It was 9 days into my tenure as CEO where we were expecting a storm, and we're going to show a video here shortly that narrates a little bit of what the storm was and the restoration. But I want to say it was a humbling and inspiring experience for me personally. Humbling in that when I accepted my appointment as president and CEO, I remember standing on that podium and addressing the board and the public and saying, what we do matters, and it matters to 150,000 people in our service territory. That day was demonstrated how much it matters. The lifestyle of many thousands of our customer owners, 188,000 customer meters, more than that represented number of people were altered by the lack of power. We were able to restore power, and we will go through the video here soon, but it was not lost on me. The fact that people were at home with medical devices, oxygen machines, insulin, medicine that could go bad, and it was not just about the inconvenience of not being able to turn on the TV. It was more than that. It was sobering to see the effect and how quick a storm of that magnitude could come in and cause the devastation that it caused. We waited, we worked really hard, but I can tell you today, and I will tell the public, that in my mind, in my book, and my executive team and everyone on the storm restoration team, we were not going to stop. We were not going to rest until the last group of customers got their power restored. At the end of Thursday of that week, we still had about 900 customers to go. And our teams were starting to feel good. We were starting to celebrate after a long week of 6 days of hard work. And I kept reminding them, and I think everybody kept reminding ourselves, there are still 900 families out there, businesses out there that have been without power for 6+ days. I want to be very transparent and very clear here that our job was not done until the last one of those customers got their power restored. It was inspiring because as I stepped into leading this organization just stepped up to the challenge. We had almost 1,900 men and women at OPPD who knew what to do. They went into action. We called mutual aid. It was inspiring to see the collaboration, the support that exists in the utility industry, where we have sent our line crews to support other utilities in time of need. And it was now their time to send their crews to support us. At some point, we had almost 1,000 people on the street, line crews, bird dogs, tree trimming crews, working to restore power as fast and as safely as possible. I mentioned this many times, and I will mention it again. My number one priority, even before restoring power, my number one priority was to remain safe. Making sure that the work that all these men and women, OPPD employees and our partners' employees were safe, that they could go back home after a long day of work safe. Very happy to report that after all of the restoration efforts, we did not record any significant safety issue. We did have one of our line crews got bitten by a dog. Definitely something important, and we looked into that. But considering the high voltage that our linemen were working on, I'm very proud to see the training, the safety awareness that has taken for over the past few years, resulting in such a good safety record. So I'm going to probably let the video that our teams prepared, they say very accurately that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Hopefully the video here that you will show illustrates the severity of the storm, the work that took place. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about lessons learned. Today, we don't have the in-depth report. Today is just a very high-level summary. I want to respond to the public. I want to tell the public what we are doing, what are we doing to respond and to do things better. A more detailed report will come in later in the time. So with that, why don't we roll the video?
The July 2021 wind event saw 3 storms converge over Dodge and Washington counties, moving southward into the Omaha metro. 96-mile-per-hour winds equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane were recorded at Epley Airfield. Wind speeds matched a record for straight-line wind gusts in Omaha. These damaging winds lasted nearly 20 minutes and cut a 25-mile path of destruction through the Omaha metro. At its peak, 188,000 customers were without power. Prior to this year's storm, the thunder and windstorm of 2008 was the largest on record for OPPD. Based on outage numbers, the July 2021 storm is the largest storm in OPPD history. The 2021 storm front path covered an area 5 times larger, causing much more widespread damage across the service territory. Despite more outages, power was restored in less than 7 days. With safety top of mind, OPPD employees and mutual aid partners worked 16-hour or longer days to restore power to our customers. By the end of the first day, Saturday, July 10th, OPPD had restored power to more than 120,000 customers as entire circuits were restored. The days that followed saw more complex repairs, including significant tree damage to infrastructure and many individual repairs. OPPD and our partners work to bring as many people back online as quickly as possible, regardless of location. "956 workers, including line technicians, forestry personnel, and other responders, were deployed in the field. OPPD and our customers were supported by 14 separate mutual aid partners from several states. Nearly 2,000 dedicated individuals worked on the front lines and behind the scenes to restore power. Communications provided through OPPD's social media channels resulted in 85% positive or neutral public sentiment. Our website and online storm and outage center served more than 170,000 new users. OPPD also provided direct customer communications to those whose outages would be longer in duration. Customer care center representatives made proactive calls to customers to check on outages and to align information within OPPD's system. This was an historic storm. OPPD teams came together to respond safely and quickly. We are a learning organization, and we take all opportunities to look at ways we can do better. While this was an extraordinary storm, OPPD is committed to adapt and improve to better serve you. We are planning for the future and grateful to our customers, employees, and partners. Thank you.
So truly, this is a thank you. Thank you to our board. Thank you to our all of our partners, our elected officials, but especially thank you to our customer owners. It is a partnership. They were patient with us. They were supporting us. They came out to the streets to cheer, to help our line crews for the most part. It was a true community effort, and we're very proud of how we reacted, what we did. But it doesn't come without lessons. And so we have 2 slides here. I'm gonna, at a very high level, talk about the lessons learned and what are we looking ahead. On the lessons category, I think about this in 2 buckets: the physical improvements and the technological information communication improvements. First, on the physical improvements, and you will see here, Troy Vai will walk us through the work that we are doing. We heard a lot about hardening the grid. During the storm, we heard a lot about undergrounding. Are we going to bury our system? And I want to tell our customer owners that is and has been a strategy that we have employed. It is something that we will continue to look into. How do we use that undergrounding and other solutions to continue to harden the grid? Undergrounding cable is not a silver bullet solution. There are pros and cons to that, and we are always studying what is the best solution for our customer owners. Tree trimming. Troy will probably talk about these, but the amount of resources we have dedicated to tree trimming in the past few years has almost doubled. So it is something that we continue to do. It is a collaboration with the customer owner. Many times when we go in and want to trim trees, customers don't always like us trimming trees, right? And we understand that. And it is a constant work that we need to have with dialogue, we need to have with neighborhoods and with customers to continue our tree trimming process and cycle. Without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to Mr. Troy Vai, who is the Vice President of Energy Delivery, who masterfully led the majority of the restoration aspects from a physical side. So Troy.
Thank you, Javier. That's very kind. I tell you what, we had a fantastic team that worked together. And we had a new director over our grid operations who came into play and has lots of experience and performed very well too. So it was definitely a team sport. But hardening our grid is definitely a top priority here at OPPD. It's something we take seriously. And we spend a lot of time analyzing performance and planning for improvements. And I'll walk through a few of those programs we have just to provide context around that, because I don't know that everybody's aware of them. But we have several specialized programs that really kind of focus on this. For instance, over the past few years, we've ramped up cable replacements. So we're replacing about 90 miles of aging underground cable every year in mature neighborhoods. And so just from 2018 to 2020, we saw a 29% decrease in the minutes of interruption from cable failures. So pretty sizable change there. We've ramped up tree trimming significantly, as Javier had mentioned. And so right now we're trimming about 1,000 miles annually, which is quite a step up from where we used to be. In 2020, we inspected over 1,100 street lights, 1,300 transformers, all kinds of substation equipment, and then all 200 of our underground vault systems that we have in our downtown network. And we did that through visual inspections and sophisticated infrared camera inspections, which helps us identify things ahead of time. We physically inspected about 28,000 poles last year. That's probably a record for poles, but through that inspection process, we proactively replaced about 1,000 poles before they broke, before they become issues. And that's an important part to hardening our system, because we know windstorms and ice storms put weight on those, and it matters. So I know after the storm, as Javier mentioned, lots of questions related to underground versus overhead distribution. And he's right, there are pros and cons to different construction methods. And we are and have been exploring possibilities for undergrounding more distribution. So for instance, I believe over the last year, there was at least 30 miles that we transitioned from overhead to underground. We are also looking at other technological solutions, as was mentioned in the SI presentation just a few minutes ago. So there are many levers that can be pulled to increase and harden the grid. And we'll continue to discuss those, but there probably will be more undergrounding. And just for reference, in 2004 and 2021, our underground installation versus overhead installation was 4-to-1. So we installed 4 times as much underground as we did overhead during that course of the year. And so our system is very quickly starting to transition to more and more underground, which does help in many cases during these types of storm events. We're going to have some great lessons learned from this storm, some things that we know that we will want to do better, and we look forward to executing those and making those changes that we need after all of the analysis and work is done in that space. But hopefully that helps provide at least a little bit of an overview of how we look at system hardening and kind of the measures that we're taking to keep our system robust.
Thank you, Troy. And if it's okay, I'm going to move to the next category and then we can open it up for comments. The other category of lessons learned, as I said, is customers and technology. As you all know, we conducted press conferences almost on a daily basis. And I stood in front of cameras a few times. And I had to ask customer owners to call us, to alert us, to let us know their power was out. We just heard the strategic initiative presentation just a few minutes ago about the current technology we have, AMR, automated meter reading technology. Well, that technology, it does a really good job at measuring, metering the usage of electricity, but we're not connected to those meters on an instantaneous way. We didn't know with precision who had lost power when. That's a key component. That's one of the most important concepts that I want our public to understand and OPPD, our employees, understand, that technology limited a lot of the interaction we could have with customers. We heard loud and clear, I'm going to paraphrase here, but our customer owners were somewhat forgiving when it came to, hey, I see trees uprooted on the roof of my neighbor's house. I see the damage. I understand it's going to take a long time. I don't understand, why can't you, OPPD, communicate faster, better, more accurately with me? That expectation in this day and age, in 2021, where we can order a pizza or order a taxi and we know exactly on our phone when is that coming, that's the expectation that our customer owners have. We couldn't communicate in that way with our customer owners, not because we didn't want to, not because we were too distracted, frankly, because our technology did not allow us to do it. It's not new. As you heard in the previous presentation, we have been working on designing an energy intelligence ecosystem, but it takes time and it takes money for us to get there. The July 9th storm served as a really good example of what happens when we don't have this type of technology, integrated technology, where we have GPS on our trucks and we know exactly the location of all outages, and we could communicate much better with our customer owners. This type of technology wouldn't necessarily have accelerated the restoration, although in some cases it could have, but it would have provided a lot more information to our customer owners that really wanted to get that information. I'm going to pass this on to Julie Comstock, our Vice President of Customer Services, who led the other side of the restoration, which is our call center, our account executives, our customer-facing interaction. And I want to do a shout out to everyone on the customer call center. They did a fantastic job. Oftentimes, they themselves did not have power. They had not had power for days, and they showed up to work with empathy, leaning a compassionate ear to our customers. So with that, Julie, go ahead.
Thank you, Javier. So yeah, I think you did a great job of summarizing our customers. We live it very much in a digital world with the expectation of real-time updates and information to inform us on decisions we need to make, our customers need to make in terms of when they have power. You know, do they need to find a different place to stay? Do they need to accommodate the food in their refrigerator? Businesses, do we send our employees home? Are we going to be able to be open for business tomorrow? And as Javier mentioned, we're somewhat hamstrung by the technology that we have in place. The team did a fabulous job, I'm going to say, with the technology that we do have, trying to leverage it to the best that we could. But we understand that customer expectations desire more, and we want to provide more. We want to be able to provide that personalized information down to, an individual home so that they understand the circumstances relative to their power. And so in June, you heard from Heather Siebken and the Customer Engagement Initiative, and that effort is laying out the roadmap for how, what that's going to look like in conjunction with the business technology platform that Kate and her team are working on. But we want to be able to deliver these communications to customers in the channels of their choice. We want to be able to provide a better outage map that gives you more specific information. The need to call in, if we have the information out in all of our channels, customers won't have the need to necessarily call in. They may always have a desire to talk to a person. We aspire to have folks that are there. And as Javier mentioned, the team does the best they can with, again, with the information that they have available. So, some of the other bullet points on this slide are about enhancing our situational awareness and having better data access and through the enterprise architecture, making that information more readily available to all employees so that employees across the district and those that are customer facing certainly have the right information to share with our customers at any moment in time. You heard a lot about our discussions and pursuit of the advanced metering options, which will make both the reporting of the outage instantaneous. We'll be able to understand if we've brought on, a subset of customers and we still have individual meters that are without power. We can address those more quickly rather than having to do a confirmation with the customer today to understand whether their power is on or not on. And then the better interconnectivity of enterprise systems. We have several systems that support our customer service function, whether it's for outage reporting or other service needs, and making sure that all of those systems are talking consistently and the data is shared appropriately, again, to provide that customer a true view of what's happening with their service, and then provide our employees the opportunity to be able to provide the customer with that level of information. I'm confident with the level of work and planning that's been done with the strategic initiative efforts that you've been hearing about at the board meetings, that we're going to be able to deliver on what this looks like for the future. And I just, again, I want to express appreciation to the team, both out in the field, the crews and the response that they gave, and to our customer service folks on the front line out there with our customers and interacting with them throughout this week or that week of the storm, to give them what information we did know. I just really appreciate the effort that they put forward. And most importantly, I appreciate the patience and understanding of our customers as the team worked through the worst storm we've ever faced.
All right, thank you, Julie. Before we open it for public comment for this presentation, do any directors have a question or comment? No? Okay, I'll ask a quick question. Process-wise, this is just an initial report. Can you remind us the timeline for the formal after-action review and when we'll hear that?
I don't have a specific date for the report. These reports typically take about 6 months to fully be completed. We just completed one for the polar vortex event, and it has been presented to you, and we will present this to the board at the next board meeting. For these, when I expect, I say winter, could be sometime in December, January timeframe. That's an adequate amount of time for the teams to really do the due diligence, make sure that we not only identify the lessons we learned, but that we accurately and realistically identify the actions that we can take, short-term actions and long-term actions that we can take to address some of these issues. So I expect this to be in the winter timeframe.
All right, thank you very much. Director Williams, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. During the event, I spoke with Troy a little bit about some of the data related to conveying how restoration was happening for different people in our system. And there was part of the video that showed a map It went from blue to orange. Troy, can you talk a little bit about the way that we will be able to use data to verify the process that we use to restore power to people across our territory? I think you and I had spoken about this, and the short part of the video verifies that crews were working across the entire territory and restoring power, regardless of any other considerations about geography or income or demographics. Can you talk a little bit about how we're going to have more advanced data available to show people the way in which the work is being completed?
Yeah, I think that links quite nicely to the presentation you saw just a little while ago. We definitely have some limitations now on the amount of data. So we can see snapshots in time, but we definitely, as we move forward and we put databases in place and we add smart equipment and different levels of mobility out in the field, we'll be able to show that much better, much quicker. You know, you just heard Julie talk about the outage map. And I think that's part of the process too. If you have these systems set up where your information flows from the field into your GIS systems, into your outage management and your visualizations like we have on our website, that just provides customers with a lot more information. So in this particular case, when we put together a video like you saw, it takes a lot of work behind the scenes to be able to do that. And in the future, we definitely want that kind of information right at our fingertips. But you could see from the restoration video that you saw that it was taking place all over our system and not just in one location. And, certain locations took longer than others also. So if I remember right, there was an area around Carter Lake, for instance, that I know we had crews there for multiple days working on that circuit where, there were other circuits that took 4 or 5 hours or 1 day to do. So those, that clarity in that will become more transparent in the future as we add technology.
Great, and I appreciate your reference back to let me get the acronym, ESENM presentation that we saw earlier. We have talked about more granular data related to the energy burden, and I appreciate that we are also looking at improving the accuracy with which we can report where outages are occurring, so that I trust that we were doing everything that was responsible and in the best interest of the people in our community equitably across the service territory. But I also would like to be able to help visualize that for people, because again, I did get questions and I didn't have as comprehensive of information as would be ideal to convey to them. Yes, we were restoring power out west where things were generally more underground, in the Northeast in subdivision 6 that I represent, where there are more overhead lines, in the Southeast, and even in the rural areas that other directors represent. So I look forward to having more granular data that can cross with other types of information to help verify what we have told people about the way that we are equitably providing service across our territory. Thanks very much for helping point us in that direction.
Javier?
Thank you, Chair Bogner. Just to add a little bit more context on Director Williams' point, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I also want to assure customer owners that your privacy is really important to us. And so while we strive to provide transparent, accurate information that only you, in this future scenario that we painted a few minutes ago on the grid modernized scenario, that you as a customer owner will know with specificity what's going on in your residence, in your service address. We would like to provide a little bit more clarity, more accuracy on the outage map without getting into specific addresses. We hear loud and clear, security is very important. We don't want to give out information that is not meant for other people other than the customer owner. So I want to just balance the need and the desire to provide enough information, and at the same time continue to protect our customers' information as we always have. So thank you for the opportunity to clarify.
Thank you. Director Moody.
Thank you, Chair Bogner. Just a couple comments and a few questions. First, I just want to reiterate the gratitude for the phenomenal work that occurred. I'm sure all of us as directors fielded a handful of phone calls, and I can't even begin to imagine the magnitude of the work that the staff had to go through. So thanks to everybody involved. It was really, really impressive to watch those exceptional people do that work. Javier, I'll echo what you described with respect to customers desiring more timely communication. I think that was probably the biggest theme that I heard in talking with folks. And I appreciate the vision that we have and the clarity for what that's going to look like in the future. I'll be interested, and I would urge us to consider, you know, as we look at lessons learned and where we're going in the future is great, but what can we do in the interim is something that I'm super interested in. So I'd be curious to see what that looks like in the report once we've got that. We also didn't talk about any lessons learned as it relates to the coordination of mutual aid. I'm not going to put you on the spot now, Troy, but I'm confident that there, given that we had so many people come in, that there are probably, I mean, there was a ton of work involved with that, obviously. So I'll be curious to see what that looks like in the report as well. Well, I think my only question actually is something that I think we do all the time, but several conversations that I had with constituents during the outage, they indicated that they had more frequent outages than the norm. So part of what I'm just kind of curious for me to understand is what's our process for identifying those situations, for reconnecting with them. You know, I don't want them to think that, okay, big storm handled, now we walk away. Like there's a process by which we can reconnect with them and identify parts of town that have more frequent outages than perhaps these really significant events. Troy, what's the process?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me just reiterate some points that were made earlier. You know, we have pretty good visualization down to the substation level, but once you get past the substation, between the substation and the customers, we are reliant on the customers to call us and let us know when those outages happen. So if there's a blink or if there's an extended outage or frequent outages, you know, those things have to be reported by our customers for us to know them. And so once a customer reports it, and for instance, if they were to call our customer service group and say, hey, I've been having frequent outages, and we get those periodically, that goes to our power quality group. And generally what that does is that spurs some inspection of the area and the lines. Any kind of data that we may have on work that's been performed or other outages in the area is reviewed. Quite often we have devices then that we put out in the field to monitor it. Since we don't have the ability to monitor it from every location, we do have some portable devices that we take out and try to understand what's going on, because it could be a voltage issue, it could be, you know, something at the customer's house on occasion. And so that process is kicked off though when the customer gives us a call and lets us know what they're seeing in that space. If it's a bigger issue that's a circuit level, you know, those are things that we can see and we do monitor. And every year we tackle those circuits with rebuilds. I mentioned replacement of underground cable. You know, that type of analysis is, as far as the location of that cable, is driven by reviewing the quality of the power in that general area. So hopefully that kind of helps cover the overall process in place. You know, someday we'll be able to see that remotely before the customer even calls us, but right now we're reliant on their communications.
Yep, that did it. Thank you, Troy. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Are there any comments? Okay, now I would love for the public to engage with us here on this topic. So we're going to kind of have I would say a special open public comment period, specifically related to the storm outages and response. There'll be also an open comment period at the end for other district business. So at this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this presentation. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Ms. Henners?
Alan and Francis Mendenhall.
Okay. Mr. Revolta, Ms. Mendenhall? We cannot hear you yet.
Phone crossed out. Am I coming through anyway?
You are now. Thank you.
Okay. I just wondered if the district has given any consideration to working with the city on talking about what sorts of trees should be allowed to be planted in or near power lines, or maybe in the city as a whole. There are municipalities that have totally banned silver maples. They grow quickly, but they hollow out at the trunks and the weight is up high. The limbs are large. When they come down, they do damage to houses and power lines and cars. And it seems to me an option to just not plant those in the first place.
Yep.
So
Very good observation. Do you still have a couple more minutes here? Do you want to say anything else?
Oh, no, I think that I know OPPD works with state and federal government. I think they should be working with the city government on that sort of an issue. It's causing a lot of damage that could be avoided by simply planting things like the bur oaks that were here before. Some of them are still standing that were here before Omaha even began. And they rarely drop as many limbs. They rarely fall over. They just don't do as much damage as those silver maples. If you wanted to start with a particular species, that's the one I would start with.
Thank you, Alan. Are there other requests for chat?
I have no chat requests.
Okay. Would any members of the public that are here in the room like to address the board on this particular topic? Please move towards the podium. I see no movement right now. Just one last call on call-in users or chat requests.
Nope, no more call-in users and no chat requests.
Okay. Okay, so I would like to ask that. Francis Mendenhall, did you want to make a comment also? I think the hand is still raised. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have confirmation that the hand is down.
I just lowered the hand.
Thank you, Al. Okay. All right, next up is the president's report. Javier.
Thank you. This is my first president's report. Lots of information. I'm going to follow the tradition that we have, some with the format, but I'm going to talk about a few other things. First, as we always report here, the July baseload generation, pretty strong, except for Nebraska City Unit 1, which had a capacity factor of a little bit under 80%. We did have that unit derated for the majority of the month. There were some issues with the boiler feed pump, and our teams worked really hard. It's been restored. It's now at, I believe it has been at full capacity for the past few days. But during the month of July, it was not. And so that explains the lower capacity factor compared to Nebraska City Unit 2. The next slide shows our peaking generation. So peaking generation, this is one of the months where we expect to see peaking generation come to play a little bit more. We saw these certainly during the polar vortex event, and we saw this in July. Very likely we will see this also in August. We had very warm days in July, and I'm going to talk about peak load here in a moment. But our units were called by the market more than in what we call the shoulder months, and you can see that here represented by Cass County having a capacity factor of almost 16%. Jones Street did not run. North Omaha Unit 1 very little, 0.5%. Unit 2, 0.4%. The North Omaha Unit 3 did run 9.6%. Our Sarpy County units had a combined capacity factor of 8.8%. So this is exactly how the units are designed to run, and you see those type of capacity factors. I'll make a connection with Power with Purpose, right? The peaking stations that we're building that we've talked about how the expectation for running the capacity factor is going to be very similar to these units, and really it's for those times when we are experiencing peaks both in the winter and in the summer months. Next slide, please. Hey, so a friend of mine was showing me a gift that he had. It was a coffee mug that said, "I like precedented times," and I agree with that. We've lots of unprecedented times, lots of new records, new things that we've had to deal with this year. A good example of that is our peak loads. We set an all-time OPPD peak load in the winter on February 14th, one of the days of the polar vortex. Our peak load used to be, it was set back in 2018 of 1,773 megawatts. It far exceeded that on February 14 of 2021 to 1,824 megawatts. Big event. We've talked about that event at length. We will continue to talk about that at the next board meeting with the after action report. Now, in the summer, which is typically the season where we focus a lot of our efforts, we are a summer peaking utility. You can see that's our biggest peak happens in the summer. Before this year, our peak, our all-time high peak load was set on August 1, 2011, at 2,468 megawatts. We had stayed at that level for almost 10 years. During the last board meeting, we were in this room having our last board meeting on June 17. At around this time, it was at 6 p.m., we set a new peak load of 2,481. And a little bit over a month later, on July 29, we set yet another peak for the summer. Just under 2,500. It was 2,499.9 megawatts. So we rounded that to 2,500. It's literally almost 2,500 megawatts. These new peaks, of course, it's showcasing different things. One is our load continues to grow. We have a lot more people in our service territory. We have new industries, and we have more megawatts that we need to serve. But also the temperatures were really high. A combination of meteorological conditions and additional load is what's really leading us to having this new peak load. This means that for planning purposes, our planners will have to start using this new peak as the basis for which we will use to plan all of our systems and system requirements, capacity, and generation. We don't have the final numbers for the July 29 date. That's literally hot off the press. But for the June 17th peak, we had a lot of help. Demand side management was utilized to reduce peak. So that peak that you see, the 2,481, was helped because we were able to reduce the load using demand side management tools. Like CoolSmart, Distributed Energy Resource Management System, and our rate 467L for customer curtailment were all called. They all operated as planned, and we were able to save load of approximately 73 megawatts that day. Had we not done that, our peak load that day would have been over 2554 megawatts. So really, really important, the partnership that we have with our customer owners, with both residential and commercial, is helping us manage load, peak loads on days that are really, really important. So that's, again, not something that I want to see too often, but certainly a year of records on many fronts. Next slide, please. Talked about our dispatchable generation. These are renewables. In July, renewable energy contributed to 25.7% of OPPD's retail energy sales. Wind capacity factor was 34%. Of course, wind, it is when the wind blows and starts blowing really hard, usually early in the morning and late in the evening. Our capacity factor for our community solar array was 32.5%. And year to date, that capacity factor for community solar is 21.6%. Next slide, please. So this is really, really exciting. I, as the owner of an electric vehicle, this is really near and dear to my heart. At the beginning of August, OPPD officially launched our newly expanded electric vehicle education website and our 2021-2022 EV rebates. As you can see, the website is designed to assist customers alongside their EV buying journey. These resources provide an all-encompassing, non-biased source of information on EVs. We're not in the business of selling vehicles. We are here as a resource for information for our customer owners, so that they can make informed decisions that could help them save time and money for years to come. If you wanna learn more, you can check these out at www.oppd.com/EV for additional information. Speaking of electric vehicles, we now offer a one-stop shop for everything EVs for customers to utilize throughout their EV buying journey. Some of you, I know you own electric vehicles, and part of the journey is how am I going to charge the vehicle at home and at work and in commercial charging stations. Those resources include an EV calculator, which compares costs of ownership among models, an interactive charging map, and various resources to address common barriers to purchasing an electric vehicle. Program funding is provided through a grant partnership with the Nebraska Environmental Trust and the Nebraska Community Energy Alliance. We have electric vehicle rebates. That EV rebate program provides rebates to residential and commercial customers who purchase a new EV and a charge point charger. For residential customers, there's a $2,500 rebate toward the purchase of both a new EV and a charge point home charging station. We have 50 rebates, or we had 50 rebates available as of the time this slide was printed. They go fast, and so we would like our customer owners to take advantage of that. For the fleet, there is a $2,500 rebate toward a fleet conversion of both a new EV and a charge point home charging station. There are 20 rebates available for this program. And there is a $4,500 rebate towards a medium and heavy truck plus charger fleet conversion. And for those, there are 5 of those available. A lot more details are available on the website. I wanted to put this out for our customer owners to take a look and take advantage of these programs. Next slide. On the same topic of electric vehicles, there's an education pilot with local schools where we had an opportunity to help educate high school students who are living in our service territory and will become future OPPD customers on the benefits of electric vehicles. The NEF sent OPPD bags and teacher packets to participating schools, along with posters and handouts. We had 7 schools throughout our service territory who participated. The Ashland, Greenwood, Bennington, Conestoga, Lewiston, Billard South, Omaha Central, and Omaha South. We were one of 4 utilities participating in this program. And all in all, it was great engagement, success. We had different teams competing, and at the same time as they were competing, they were learning more about the electric vehicle infrastructure. On the next slide, I'm going to move a little bit away from electric vehicles, and this is just celebrating our utility industry awards. OPPD received an honorable mention in the billing and payment category for Chartwell's Best Practice Awards. It's for the Customers First campaign. This is the one that we ran last year during the pandemic, where we launched a Customers First campaign. It was designed to create awareness of assistance options and resources for those struggling to pay their utility bills during the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result of such targeted and sustained effort, there was no increase in write-offs due to customers failing behind on their bill in 2020. Very proud of, the recognition in of itself is nice, but really proud of what the team did, really on behalf of our customer owners. Next slide, please. We talked about net metering, rate 483, and there were a few comments made. We're celebrating 500 applications. It was a big milestone. In June of 2021, we received our 500th customer-owned generation interconnection application. This was the 165th application received so far this year. This year, we've seen a big increase on applications, and it's on track to be a 500% increase in interconnection applications over last year. To date, 203 of these systems are online and generate electricity for their owners. And we enjoyed a really good partnership with these customer owners in that we are gaining good intelligence, good information from these systems. It's only 500 applications out of the 340,000 customers we have. But it was a big milestone for the team who designed the process to make this happen. Next slide. Paths to decarbonization. We held 4 workshops already and an additional interim modeling update earlier this month that provided excellent stakeholder input on the pathways to decarbonization energy portfolio workstream. If you watching from home or recorded the recorded version of this meeting, if you missed these events, there are over 8 hours of rich content that has been summarized into a 22-minute video. So you don't have to watch a whole 8 hours, but still 22 minutes of really rich content. You can find this video at oppdcommunityconnect.com. We will be holding a virtual engagement session on Thursday, September 2nd at 4 p.m. to update interested individuals on the community and customer work streams. You may pre-register now on oppdcommunityconnect.com. And well, if you visit our website while you're online, there is a survey that you can also take to tell us how OPPD could potentially partner with you to reduce carbon production in your home and in your community. Next slide, please. Honoring our community. Love this picture because I've been there with my kids who love to go to county fairs and visit all the animals and agriculture exhibits. We have a long history of honoring communities by supporting county fairs in our service area. This year's fair support includes Cass, Dodge, Johnson, Nemaha, Otto, Sarpy, Saunders, and Washington counties. Very, very excited, and we're always, part of that community and very proud of representing OPPD in those communities. Also honoring our community. Next slide, please. We partnered with Habitat for Humanity in Omaha, their neighborhood cleanup, where OPPD employees were invited to volunteer with Habitat for Humanity Omaha to assist residents who drove through with items to discard, including tree branches and debris following the storm. This was really inspiring. I know of many employees who worked all the prior week restoring power, getting very, very little sleep, and still getting up to help on the community. That's the type of commitment and honoring the community that we have at OPPD. 2 additional neighborhood cleanup events are scheduled with Habitat. One is this coming Saturday, August 21st. All volunteer slots are full, so sorry, we can only take so many. But there will be another opportunity on Saturday, September 25th. And this brings me to the last section of my president's report. Not only is it my can you go back one, please? Well, not only is this my first president report, but it's one where I get to honor 2 members of the OPPD family who unfortunately passed away since the last board meeting. First one is Amy Barata, who began her tenure with OPPD on October 5th of 2020, really not that long ago. She joined us in the middle of the pandemic. I personally had the opportunity to meet Amy through WebEx many times. She quickly acclimated to her new role while working remotely. Amy was a skilled technology project manager. She was dedicated to her work and easily cultivated strong relationships with her project sponsors, stakeholders, and the business technology project management team. In May of 2021, she informed OPPD that she would need a complex medical procedure and that her procedure would require a lengthy recovery. Prior to her absence, Amy worked closely with another project manager to ensure her projects would move forward without delay. That is the type of committed professional that Amy Barata was. To our great dismay, on July 23rd, she passed away due to complications from the medical procedure. Amy's co-workers, the Business Technology and Building Services Division, and OPPD will miss her, her enthusiasm and dedication she brought to her work. The second individual, unfortunately, that I have to, that I would like to honor tonight back, is Needy Gamber. Needy joined OPPD in October of 2006 as a customer care specialist, supporting frontline agents and supervisors in customer service. He was promoted to a supervisor and spent nearly a decade leading call center agents to become the best versions of themselves at work, filling OPPD's talent pipeline along the way. He was most recently promoted into a customer care coordinator role, where he worked across all levels in the organization and with the board of directors to support the community. Needy was always there to anyone in need. He was a true leader and a friend to all. He shined as he put both customers and employees first. He left a legacy as a problem solver and lived the core values of OPPD. As you can note here, Needy passed away on June 29, a mere 10 days before the July 9th storm. He left a big hole in the customer call center team who still rose to the occasion, and to honor Needy's memory and time here at OPPD, they rose to the occasion and they did what Needy would have liked them to do, which is serve our customer owners in the best possible way. Needy will be sorely missed, but the legacy, the work that he left behind, the friendships will last for a really long time. That concludes my President's report, Chair.
Oh, thank you very much, Javier. We are now on to the time where it's an opportunity for the public to address the board for any other district business. So at this time, I would like to ask any members of the public that have comments on other items of district business to please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand.
We have a hand raised from David Corbin.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Corbin.
You hear me?
We can.
David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, representing the Nebraska Chapter Sierra Club. First of all, I'd like to say how impressive the presentation was on the grid modernization. That's very forward-looking, and I'm looking forward to see what happens with it. I'd like to spend most of my time, however, talking about the discussion at the committee meeting on the declining block presentation. The number one point that was mentioned in that was that customers have limited understanding of rates. You've heard me say many times at meetings that customers need to be able to compare their rates and know what it is. All the way back in, excuse me, 2011, the Sierra Club and 350.org brought an OPower representative to talk to officials at administration at OPPD. And after that presentation, we heard that one, it was too expensive, and two, you don't have the capability of doing the breakdowns that a system like OPower or some other similar feedback. The presentation on the declining block indicated both that customers have limited understanding and that you have the capability, at least now, of being able to compare households by size, by income, and so on. So again, I encourage you to investigate that. The feedback programs are known to boost energy security, help environment, save customers money. And for example, again, I would emphasize on-bill financing, such as helping people with energy efficiency or with solar, or besides just the good programs with EVs, to have incentives for electric water heaters and ovens and so on. There's also no comparison was mentioned when you said it might discourage, declining blocks might discourage people from going electric. I didn't hear anything about comparing the cost of electric to the cost of gas, and that would be essential. The safety aspects of electric versus gas. And then there was one other thing that was at least of concern, that the team talked about negligible amounts of money. It's not for the team to determine what people consider negligible or not. So I would hope that you would look again at giving people feedback, given that customers have, this is a quote, customers have limited understanding of rates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corbin. Are there any other requests for public comment? What, I meant, sorry, just a second, I meant on WebEx.
Alan and Francis.
Okay, Alan?
Hello, Alan Baboka, 3719 Hamilton Street. I wanted to tag on to that comment about limited understanding of rates. One of the easiest things to understand on a utility bill is how much you pay per kilowatt hour. If everyone paid the same amount per kilowatt hour for all their kilowatt hours, the bills would be much more understandable. I was also disappointed in the presentation on Tuesday because when the rate structure was last, what shall I say, adjusted, it was done in conjunction with changing the fixed fee. And apparently, although not all the data was provided to the public, it seems that changing the fixed fee was not considered in this block structure change as it had been when it was instituted 5 years ago. $20 a month is a lot more than $3 a month. That fee increased from $10 to $30 over the last 5 years. $20 a month makes a difference to people who are on low use and low income situations. So I hope that all the wonderful data, and I just love data, that's now available to OPPD will be used in the near future, not 2 to 3 years out, as the presentation suggested, to re-examine that fixed fee issue. The fixed fee is something that people understand. They'll know if that fixed fee changes. It shows up on their bills. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Alan. Are there any other online requests to chat?
I have nothing in the chat and no other hand raises.
Okay, we will now move to in-person comments, please. Just a reminder to state your name and address.
David D. Begley, 4611 South 96th Street, Omaha. I'm here as a customer owner, and I'm going to speak on power with purpose and your rates. Now, this year you've had one mandatory blackout and one massive storm outage. And you now all have personal experience as to why reliable and inexpensive electricity is quite necessary for modern life. Will the board learn from this? Please consider me to be an Old Testament prophet in the desert. What I'm going to tell you right now is very unpopular, but I'm going to, with this board, well, I'm going to put on my hat so you will remember this day. So in the very near future, if you continue with power with purpose, some or all the following will happen at OPPD. Number one, we'll have much higher rates. Number two, be paying NPPD and Mid-America Energy Power to take money to take power off your hands in the summer, and there will be more blackouts due to a lack of power. Again, this is not a prediction about what will happen in the year 2100, but it will happen in the near future because it's already happened in Texas and California. And Germany, in case you don't know, has power rates 3 times as much as the United States because they have a net carbon zero policy. August 17th of this year, the Dallas Federal Reserve issued a report which highlighted the importance of stability, of reliable power, and the problem that it has with they have a whole lot of renewable energy sources in the Texas grid. So the upshot and the conclusion here is that OPPD intends to substitute 400 to 600 megawatts of new unreliable solar power along with your pre-existing unreliable wind power. We saw that miserable capacity factor for July for what you had of 743 megawatts of stable coal and nuclear. The laugher here is that Ambassador John Kerry said this year that even if the United States went to net carbon zero today, it wouldn't make because of going. China, per the publication Yale Environment 360, has already built 38 gigawatts of coal-fired power plants. Is going to add another 247 gigawatts. Your capacity is 2,700 megawatts. So whatever you do here about carbon zero isn't going to make any difference. So I'm going to ask the board to repeal power with purpose. I don't think that's going to happen, but I will ask Chairwoman Wagner, will you direct this new CEO to lower OPPD's rates so that they're in line with Mid-America Energy and MPPD? Because I can tell you right now, you're a whole lot higher. And if we weren't required by law to purchase power from OPPD, you'd lose 90% of your customers in a week.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Begley. According to our SD2 rate monitoring report that was approved earlier this year, our information demonstrates that our rates are lower than the area.
The national average, not Mid-America Energy. Mid-America Energy is lower. I heard Warren Buffett say that at the Berkshire Hathaway meeting 2-3 years ago.
Yep, a couple years ago. Since then, their rates have increased. Thank you very much for your comments. At this time, is there any other public member that would like to have an opportunity to address the board? All right.
I don't have anything in the chat. Alan and Francis, I see their hands still up.
Thank you. We do have a public attendee that's getting ready to address us.
Okay.
I'm Debbie Bowman, and my address is 2502 Ponca Point in Plattsmouth or Beaver Lake. And I'm here this evening because I want to talk about the I'd like to talk about the Turtle Creek Station. And as you know, along Highway 50, there's quite a bit of development going on. And I had a property 1 mile off of Highway 50 that, unbeknownst to me, Facebook wanted. They didn't want my property. They wanted to close the road to my property. So instead of having a mile of entrance into my property, they just wanted me to have a car length into the property. And so they actually went to the county commissioners to close that road. And luckily I found out before they did close it. Going through everything, there was no attorneys that would help me out because of Facebook. And there was one that was that would help me in Papillion. And now I understand why I kind of got stuck with that gentleman. But now, after I get the land through this process, I lost the land, and Facebook exchanged property, and I have property now on Highway 50 and Fairview Road. And now, after spending lots of money cleaning up that property, 6 months later, now OPPD has come and said that they would like to put towers on my property. And when it was my fault not looking at the maps so well when they first came out in March, because it was very obvious to me where you would put the towers as these towers, because the I'm sorry, because the stations,
30 seconds.
The substations are 36. I lost my control. So anyway, it was very easy for me to know where these were going to. And because they would go right to Facebook through Facebook's property. So, but comes to find out after I got a call from HDR that they are going to put not one, or probably two, but probably 4 towers, the hugest ones that there are, on my property without without any consideration. I asked, I says, why not go from here to there and put it on a junkyard? And no, we can't do that. And I says, okay, cross the road and put your towers on Facebook's property. They took my property. You can put it on and put those towers there where there's going to be empty land. And of course, Facebook gets what they want. So I would like to ask OPPD, because no one will answer this question for me. Tell me why OPPD can't cross the road and place the towers on that land that Facebook needs for electricity, that they have the empty land, and they are basically the ones that need the electricity, because I use 0 amount of electricity there on that property.
All right, I think so. We're over time on the 3 minutes that we provided you, and we can address that question briefly. Javier?
Certainly. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bowman, for coming and for sharing your concerns. As I mentioned to you earlier in the room, this is not new to me. I have been involved. I am aware of the issue as are members of my executive team. I know that we have been meeting with you and a few others in your family or friends of yours. Our team will continue. I understand that they are planning another meeting with you to continue to explore options. They're listening to you. They're trying to balance your needs, your concerns with the electrical design of our system, which is complex. But I want to reassure you that we are listening to your concerns. I have been aware of them since the time you contacted Director Yoder. So we are aware. We will work with you and try to find the best solution for all. So you have my commitment that my team will continue to work closely with you and try to find a good solution.
Okay, are there any other requests for public comment, either in person or on WebEx? Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.